Side A. Hello, boys and girls. Hannah Baker here. Live and in stereo. I don't believe it. No return engagements. No encore. And this time, absolutely no requests. No, I can't believe it. Hannah Baker killed herself. I hope you're ready, because I'm about to tell you the story of my life. More specifically, why my life ended. And if you're listening to these tapes, you're one of the reasons why. What? No, I'm not saying which tape brings you into the story. But fear not, if you receive this lovely little box, your name will pop up, I promise. Now, why would a dead girl lie? Hey. That sounds like a joke. Why would a dead girl lie? Answer: because she can't stand up. Is this some kind of twisted suicide note? Go ahead. Laugh. Oh well, I thought it was funny. Before Hannah died, she recorded a bunch of tapes. Why? The rules are pretty simple. There are only two. Rule number 1, you listen. Number 2, you pass it on. Hopefully, neither one will be easy for you. What's that you're playing? Mom. I scrambled for the stereo, hitting several buttons all at once. Mom, you scared me, I say. It's nothing. A school project. My go-to answer for anything. Staying out late? School project. Need extra money? School project. And now, the tapes of a girl. A girl who, 2 weeks ago, swallowed a handful of pills. School project. Can I listen? She asks. It's not mine, I say. I scrape the toe of my shoe against the concrete floor. I'm helping a friend. It's for history. It's boring. Well, that's nice of you, she says. She leans over my shoulder and lifts a dusty rag, one of my old cloth diapers, to remove a tape measure hidden underneath. Then she kisses my forehead. I'll leave you in peace. I wait till the door clicks shut, then I place a finger over the play button. My fingers, my hands, my arms, my neck, everything feels hollow. Not enough strength to press a single button on a stereo. I pick up the cloth diaper and drape it over the shoebox to hide it from my eyes. I wish I'd never seen that box or the 7 tapes inside it. Hitting play that first time was easy. A piece of cake. I had no idea what I was about to hear. But this time, it's one of the most frightening things I've ever done. I turn the volume down and press play. 1. You listen. Number 2. You pass it on. Hopefully, neither one will be easy for you. When you're done listening to all 13 sides, because there are 13 sides to every story, rewind the tapes, put them back in the box, and pass them on to whoever follows your little tale. And you, lucky number 13, you can take the tapes straight to hell. Depending on your religion, maybe I'll see you there. In case you're tempted to break the rules, understand that I did make a copy of these tapes. Those copies will be released in a very public manner if this package doesn't make it through all of you. This was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Do not take me for granted again. No, there's no way she could think that. You are being watched. My stomach squeezes in on itself, ready to make me throw up if I let it. Nearby, a plastic bucket sits upside down on a footstool. In 2 strides, if I need to, I can reach the handle and flip it over. I hardly knew Hannah Baker. I mean, I wanted to. I wanted to know her more than I had the chance. Over the summer, we worked together at the movie theater. And not long ago, at a party, we made out. But we never had the chance to get closer. And not once did I take her for granted. Not once. These tapes shouldn't be here. Not with me. It has to be a mistake. Or a terrible joke. I pull the trash can across the floor. Although I checked it once already, I check the wrapping again. A return address has got to be here somewhere. Maybe I'm just overlooking it. Hannah Baker's suicide tapes are getting passed around. Someone made a copy and sent them to me as a joke. Tomorrow at school, someone will laugh when they see me, or they'll smirk and look away. And then I'll know. And then? What will I do then? I don't know. I almost forgot. If you're on my list, you should have received a map. I let the wrapping fall back in the trash. I'm on the list. A few weeks ago, just days before Hannah took the pills, someone slipped an envelope through the vent of my locker. The outside of the envelope said, "Save this, you'll need it," in red felt tip marker. Inside was a folded up map of the city. About a dozen red stars marked different areas around town. In elementary school, we used those same Chamber of Commerce maps to learn about north, south, east, and west. Tiny blue numbers scattered around the map matched up with business names listed in the margins. I kept Hannah's map in my backpack. I meant to show it around school to see if anyone else got one, to see if anyone knew what it meant. But over time, it slid beneath my textbooks and notebooks and I forgot all about it. Till now. Throughout the tapes, I'll be mentioning several spots around our beloved city for you to visit. I can't force you to go there, but if you'd like a little more insight, just head for the stars. Or, if you'd like, just throw the maps away and I'll never know. As Hannah speaks through the dusty speakers, I feel the weight of my backpack pressing against my leg. Inside, crushed somewhere at the bottom, is her map. Or maybe I will. I'm not actually sure how this whole dead thing works. Who knows, maybe I'm standing behind you right now. I lean forward, propping my elbows on the workbench. I let my face fall into my hands and I slide my fingers back into unexpectedly damp hair. I'm sorry. That wasn't fair. Ready, Mr. Foley? Justin Foley. A senior. He was Hannah's first kiss. But why do I know that? Justin, honey, you were my very first kiss. My very first hand to hold. But you were nothing more than an average guy. And I don't say that to be mean. I don't. There was just something about you that made me need to be your girlfriend. To this day I don't know exactly what that was. But it was there, and it was amazingly strong. You don't know this, but 2 years ago when I was a freshman and you were a sophomore, I used to follow you around. For 6th period, I worked in the attendance office, so I knew every one of your classes. I even photocopied your schedule, which I'm sure I still have here somewhere. And when they go through my belongings, they'll probably toss it away thinking a freshman crush has no relevance. But does it? For me, yes, it does. I went back as far as you to find an introduction to my story. And this really is where it begins. So where am I on this list, among these stories? Second? Third? Does it get worse as it goes along? She said lucky number 13 could take the tapes to hell. When you reach the end of these tapes, Justin, I hope you'll understand your role in all of this. Because it may seem like a small role now, but it matters. In the end, everything matters. Betrayal. It's one of the worst feelings. I know you didn't mean to let me down. In fact, most of you listening probably had no idea what you were doing, what you were truly doing. What was I doing, Hannah? Because I honestly have no idea. That night, if it's the night I'm thinking of, was just as strange for me as it was for you. Maybe more so, since I still have no idea what the hell happened. Our first red star can be found at C4. Take your finger over to C and drop it down to 4. That's right, like Battleship. When you're done with this tape, you should go there. We only lived in that house a short while, the summer before my freshman year, but it's where we lived when we first came to town. And it's where I first saw you, Justin. Maybe you'll remember. You were in love with my friend Kat. School was still 2 months away, and Kat was the only person I knew because she lived right next door. She told me you were all over her the previous year. Not literally all over her, just staring and accidentally bumping into her in the halls. I mean, those were accidents, right? Kat told me that at the end of school dance, you finally found the nerve to do more than stare and bump into her. The two of you danced every slow song together. And soon, she told me, she was going to let you kiss her. The very first kiss of her life. What an honor. The stories must be bad. Really bad. That's the only reason the tapes are passing on from one person to the next. Out of fear. Why would you want to mail out a bunch of tapes blaming you in a suicide? You wouldn't. But Hannah wants us, those of us on the list, to hear what she has to say. And we'll do what she says, passing the tapes on, if only to keep them away from people not on the list. The list. It sounds like a secret club. An exclusive club. And for some reason, I'm in it. I wanted to see what you looked like, Justin, so we called you from my house and told you to come over. We called from my house because Kat didn't want you to know where she lived. Well, not yet. Even though her house was right next door. You were playing ball. I don't know if it was basketball, baseball, or what, but you couldn't come over until later. So we waited. Basketball. A lot of us played that summer, hoping to make JV as freshmen. Justin, only a sophomore, had a spot waiting for him on varsity. So a lot of us played ball with him in hopes of picking up skills over the summer. And some of us did. While some of us, unfortunately, did not. We sat in my front bay window, talking for hours, when all of a sudden you and one of your friends, hi, Zach, came walking up the street. Zach? Zach Dempsey? The only time I've seen Zach with Hannah, even momentarily, was the night I first met her. Two streets meet in front of my old house like an upside-down T, so you were walking up the middle of the road toward us. Wait. I need to think. I pick at a speck of dry orange paint on the workbench. Why am I listening to this? I mean, why put myself through this? Why not just pop the tape out of the stereo and throw the entire box of them in the trash? I swallow hard. Tears sting at the corners of my eyes. Because it's Hannah's voice. A voice I thought I'd never hear again. I can't throw that away. And because of the rules. I look at the shoebox hidden beneath the cloth diaper. Hannah said she made a copy of each of these tapes. But what if she didn't? Maybe if the tapes stop, if I don't pass them on, that's it. It's over. Nothing happens. But what if there's something on these tapes that could hurt me? What if it's not a trick? Then a second set of tapes will be released. That's what she said. And everyone will hear what's on them. The spot of paint flakes off like a scab. Who's willing to test her bluff? You stepped out of the gutter and planted one foot on the lawn. My dad had the sprinklers running all morning, so the grass was wet and your foot slid forward, sending you into a split. Zach had been staring at the window, trying to get a better view of Kat's new friend, yours truly, and he tripped over you, landing beside you on the curb. You pushed him off and stood up. Then he stood up, and you both looked at each other, not sure of what to do. And your decision? You ran back down the street while Kat and I laughed like crazy in the window. I remember that. Kat thought it was so funny. She told me about it at her going-away party that summer. The party where I first saw Hannah Baker. God, I thought she was so pretty. And new to this town, that's what really got me. Around the opposite sex, especially back then, my tongue twisted into knots even a Boy Scout would walk away from it. But around her I could be the new and improved Clay Jensen, high school freshman. Kat moved away before the start of school, and I fell in love with the boy she left behind. And it wasn't long until that boy started showing an interest in me, which might have had something to do with the fact that I seemed to always be around. We didn't share any classes, but our classrooms for periods 1, 4, and 5 were at least close to each other. Okay, so period 5 was a stretch, and sometimes I wouldn't get there until after you'd left, but periods 1 and 4 were at least in the same hall. At Kat's party, everyone hung around the outside patio even though it was cold. It was probably the coldest night of the summer. And I, of course, forgot my jacket at home. After a while, I managed to say hello. And a little while later, you managed to say it back. Then, one day, I walked by you without saying a word. I knew you couldn't handle that, and it led to our very first multi-word conversation. No, that's not right. I left my jacket at home because I wanted everyone to see my new shirt. What an idiot I was. Hey. You said, aren't you going to say hello? I smiled, took a breath, then turned around. Why should I? Because you always say hello. I asked why you thought you were such an expert on me. I said you probably didn't know anything about me. At Kat's party, I bent down to tie my shoe during my first conversation with Hannah Baker. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't tie my stupid shoelace because my fingers were too numb from the cold. To Hannah's credit, she offered to tie it for me. Of course, I wouldn't let her. Instead, I waited till Zach inserted himself into our awkward conversation before sneaking inside to thaw my fingers beneath running water. So embarrassing. Earlier, when I asked my mom how to get a boy's attention, she said, play hard to get. So that's what I was doing. And sure enough, it worked. You started hanging around my classes waiting for me. It seemed like weeks went by before you finally asked for my number. But I knew you eventually would, so I practiced saying it out loud. Real calm and confident, like I didn't really care. Like I gave it out 100 times a day. Yes, boys at my old school had asked for my number. But here, at my new school, you were the first. No. That's not true. But you were the first to actually get my number. It's not that I didn't want to give it out before. I was just cautious. New town. New school. And this time, I was going to be in control of how people saw me. After all, how often do we get a second chance? Before you, Justin, whenever anyone asked, I'd say all the right numbers up until the very last one, and then I'd get scared and mess up, sort of accidentally on purpose. I heaved my backpack onto my lap and unzipped the largest pocket. I was getting way too excited watching you write down my number. Luckily, you were way too nervous to notice. When I finally spat out that last number, the correct number, I smiled so big. Meanwhile, your hand was shaking so badly that I thought you were going to screw it up, and I was not going to let that happen. I pulled out her map and unfolded on the workbench. I pointed at the number you were writing. That should be a 7, I said. It is a 7. I use a wooden ruler to smooth out the creases. Oh, well, as long as you know it's a 7. I do, you said. But you scratched it out anyway and made an even shakier 7. I stretched the cuff of my sleeve into my palm and almost reached over to wipe the sweat from your forehead, something my mother would have done. But thankfully, I didn't do that. You never would have asked another girl for her number again. Through the side garage door, Mom calls my name. I lower the volume, ready to hit stop if it opens. Yes. By the time I got home, you'd already called. Twice. I want you to keep working, Mom says, but I need to know if you're having dinner with us. My mom asked who you were, and I said we had a class together. You were probably just calling with a homework question. And she said that's exactly what you had told her. I looked down at the first red star. C4. I know where that is, but should I go there? I couldn't believe it. Justin, you lied to my mom. So why did that make me so happy? No, I say. I'm heading to a friend's house. For his project. Because our lies matched. It was a sign. That's fine, Mom says. I'll keep some in the fridge and you can heat it up later. My mom asked what class we had and I said math, which wasn't a total lie. We both had math. Just not together. And not the same type. Good, Mom said. That's what he told me. I accused her of not trusting her own daughter, grabbed the slip of paper with your number from her hand, and ran upstairs. I'll go there. To the first star. But before that, when this side of the tape is over, I'll go to Tony's. Tony never upgraded his car stereo so he still plays tapes. That way, he says, he's in control of the music. If he gives someone a ride and they bring their own music, too bad. The format's not compatible, he tells them. When you answered the phone, I said, Justin? It's Hannah. My mom said you called with a math problem. Tony drives an old Mustang handed down from his brother, who got it from his dad, who probably got it from his dad. At school there are few loves that compare to the one between Tony and his car. More girls have dumped him out of car envy than my lips have even kissed. You were confused, but eventually you remembered lying to my mom and, like a good boy, you apologized. While Tony doesn't classify as a close friend, we have worked on a couple of assignments together so I know where he lives. And most important of all, he owns an old Walkman that plays tapes. A yellow one with a skinny plastic headset that I'm sure he'll let me borrow. I'll take a few tapes with me and listen to them as I walk through Hannah's old neighborhood, which is only a block or so from Tony's. So, Justin, what's the math problem? I asked. You weren't getting off that easy. Or maybe I'll take the tapes somewhere else. Somewhere private. Because I can't listen here. Not that Mom or Dad will recognize the voice in the speakers, but I need room. Room to breathe. And you didn't miss a beat. You told me Train A was leaving your house at 3:45 p.m. Train B was leaving my house 10 minutes later. You couldn't see this, Justin, but I actually raised my hand like I was in school rather than sitting on the edge of my bed. Pick me, Mr. Foley. Pick me, I said. I know the answer. When you called my name, yes, Miss Baker, I threw Mom's hard-to-get roll right out the window. I told you the two trains met at Eisenhower Park at the bottom of the rocket slide. What did Hannah see in him? I never got that. Even she admits she was unable to put her finger on it. But for an average-looking guy, so many girls are into Justin. Sure, he is kind of tall. And maybe they find him intriguing. He's always looking out windows, contemplating something. A long pause at your end of the line, Justin. And I mean a long pause. So, when do the trains meet? You asked. 15 minutes, I said. You said 15 minutes seemed awfully slow for two trains going full speed. Whoa. Slow down, Hannah. I know what you're all thinking. Hannah Baker is a slut. Oops. Did you catch that? I said, Hannah Baker is? Can't say that anymore. She stops talking. I drag the stool closer to the workbench. The two spindles in the tape deck, hidden behind a smoky plastic window, pull the tape from one side to the other. A gentle hiss comes through the speaker. A soft static hum. What is she thinking? At that moment, are her eyes shut? Is she crying? Is her finger on the stop button, hoping for the strength to press it? What is she doing? I can't hear. Wrong. Her voice is angry. Almost trembling. Hannah Baker is not, and never was, a slut. Which begs the question, what have you heard? I simply wanted a kiss. I was a freshman girl who had never been kissed. Never. But I liked a boy, he liked me, and I was going to kiss him. That's the story. The whole story. Right there. What was the other story? Because I did hear something. The few nights leading up to our meeting in the park, I'd had the same dream. Exactly the same. From beginning to end. And for your listening pleasure, here it is. But first, a little background. My old town had a park similar to Eisenhower Park in one way. They both had that rocket ship. I'm sure it was made by the same company because they looked identical. A red nose points to the sky. Metal bars run from the nose all the way down to green fins holding the ship off the ground. Between the nose and the fins are 3 platforms, connected by 3 ladders. On the top level is a steering wheel. On the mid-level is a slide that leads down to the playground.